I'm Sarah, otherwise known as Yarnmugs on Instagram and Ravelry. Welcome to my podcast where I chat about crochet, knitting, sewing and the books that I've been reading. How are you all? I hope you're all well. I've had a really nice week. I've had a week off work, so I feel really refreshed today and looking forward to sharing some of the things I've been making with you. First of all, I'm going to talk about what I'm wearing. I did chat quite a bit about this last time, but I hadn't had it finished. I had one sleeve to go and put the buttons on. And this is my Felix cardigan. I cannot tell you how much I love it. I feel like I feel very lucky that I've managed to make something that fits perfectly without having done a swatch. I think the pattern calls for Aran weight yarn and I use DK weight yarn, but I used the needles suggested, so I used a 6 for the main body and a 5 for the, I can't remember whether the 5 was for the neckband and button band, but I think I kept it at 6 on the rib of the cardigan. I just love it. I really, really love it. I'm going to stand up and show you. It's at a perfect length, sort of, especially for dresses. Now, for some reason, that bit is scooching up, but it is exactly the same. I've tried to kind of stretch it out, but it's fine. And it looks a bit lopsided, but it shouldn't be lopsided. It's, I did all the lines or the stripes at the same place. I found these beautiful buttons. Me and my sister had a lovely shopping day on Monday. We went to a fantastic haberdashery shop that I've never been to before in Cambridgeshire called Backstitch. If you ever get the chance, it's such a lovely shop. It's on a piece of land where there are other kind of independent shops, cafe and all sorts of things, but this particular Backstitch is wonderful. The choices of yarn, fabric, all sorts of things, everything you could ever need was in there. Everything just looked lovely, and that's where I got these buttons from, and I think they fit kind of perfectly with this orangey browny stripe. But normally when I've sewn buttons on, I've used a bit of yarn and I'd had absolutely no yarn left, so I had to do just sewing thread really, and it was really fiddly. But I think they're all right. Aren't they lovely, wooden? So yeah, I absolutely love this pattern. It's really straightforward. I think sometimes I might have made a few mistakes with the yarn overs, although I was following the pattern, but for some reason sometimes they didn't look right. But no one knows once it's on. It just feels like it's a perfect fit. Everything about it, the way the neckline lies, the underarm bit, it's exactly, lip just where my underarm would be. I'm just over the moon. And I used literally every bit of 3 skeins of DK weight yarn. This beautiful one here, the kind of, it's not navy, it is like a tealy blue with the turquoise, is from the beautiful Travel Knitter, and it's Midnight Fireflies, 100% extra fine merino superwash. And she's no longer dyeing. So I had 2 of these skeins in my stash and luckily could pair it with what the stripes are, which is my Beehive yarn. It was from the Enchanted Yarn Club I got the other year. This was her June one, and it's in her Dolly DK base, and I've got to say, both yarns were just beautiful to work with. The stitch definition is amazing, isn't it? And like I say, the match, initially when I was making it, I was thinking, am I just making this, squeezing it in to make it match? But I think it does go lovely together. Yeah, I'm really, really pleased. So you can see the rib. I think I did do that rib still in the 6. So it doesn't cinch in, it just sort of hangs, in that kind of boxy shape, which I'm really happy with. Yeah, and even the decreases down the sleeves, I kept putting them on after every decrease to make sure that they did match, and they did. Yeah, I can't rate this pattern highly enough. So much so that I've started another one, and I'll share that with you in a minute. So once I'd made it, I was so happy with it on. This is before I'd sewn any buttons on. I then soaked it in a sink with wool wash, and when I kind of squished it a bit and rolled it in a towel and laid it out, it looked massive, and I immediately thought, I've ruined it. I've ruined this beautiful cardigan. And because it's been quite cold, there was nowhere really to kind of dry it, so I just had it on this table on a towel, and I'd keep coming in and turning it over, or making the towel, getting a dry area for it to be on, but it just looked really stretched. So I kind of left it for a day, and then where it was still very damp, and when I tried it on, I thought, I'm just going to put it in the tumble dryer. I had some things in the tumble dryer already and just bunged it in, and I just kept going and checking on it, and it then went back to what it was like before I had put it in the water to soak. So it hadn't shrunk it. I think it just returned to the shape it was. So maybe it was just that when it was wet it was very heavy, but it's lovely. It's not particularly a tight gauge, but it's not baggy and loose either, is it? But I'm just over the moon that it managed to shrink back. Oh, the neckline, I mean, it's just lovely. The buttonhole, just the description of how to do things, everything was perfect. So yeah, I'm over the moon. And for those that may have seen another video I put up yesterday, might be able to see something else I'm wearing underneath. So when I made this, I thought it would go with this particular fabric in my stash I've had for a little while. I can't remember when I bought it. It might have been last year or even the year before at one of the knitting and stitching shows in London. And it's this vintage fabric. It's cotton, but it's quite light. It's not stiff like some of the cotton poplins or quilting cotton dresses I've got. It does feel drapey, and I just thought, does that match, or does it look a bit too much? But I just thought the blue, the turquoise blue and the kind of orangey browns went perfectly with these two. So I have made, I'll just undo this. I'm loving this cardigan though. If I went in a shop and tried this on, you just would think, perfect fit. So yeah, I've made a sew along video, so that's on my channel at the moment, and I've made the indigo dress. So I've kind of made this version, but what I do now with this indigo, I've made it so many times, I don't follow the instructions at all. And I think all the dresses I make are bodice, sleeves, set-in sleeves and gathered skirt with pockets, so I kind of know what to do. But for this particular dress, I compared it to the green gingham dress that I made recently with my sister. Historically my indigo dresses have been a size 5, and I felt like I needed to go up a size, but that dress in particular it's quite big, and I realised like on the shoulders it was big, not so big in the bodice but big in the skirt, so I decided to kind of adjust my pattern pieces to do a little bit of a different size. So I feel like, I don't know if you can really see, that the sleeves look like they're fitting a bit better on my shoulder, whereas the previous dress they were sort of starting a bit low. There is a puff there, but that's because I've got gathering, but I think I'm happy with where it is. I've used bias binding around the neck rather than a facing, and I made my own bias binding out of this fabric. This time I've not put any bust darts in, so it just gives me, it's fitted enough that, it doesn't feel baggy around the bust, but yeah, I feel like it fits fine. And then it feels a little bit looser at the waistband. I took a little bit of fabric out of the pattern piece for the skirt. And yeah, like I said, I've got inseam pockets as well. So check out my other video where I kind of go into a bit more detail about the making of this. But I'm really happy with it. I'm just looking at the colours, sorry, I'm loving the pattern and the colours. Initially I thought, because I think it is a vintage piece of fabric, when I bought it from this woman, it wasn't one of those normal fabric stall, it was quite a small little stall. She had a collection of all sorts of things, and she just had a massive roll of this, and so I bought 3 metres, and it was only about £4 a metre. So for this dress I've used every bit up. For my sleeves, I'm really happy with the sleeves. I've put a little casing and a little bit of elastic, and I feel that I feel like they're at the kind of a nice length, you know, not right down here, just a little bit of wrist and arm showing, but they're not. Sometimes I've made them too short and I'm constantly wanting to pull them down, but this just feels exactly the right length. Yeah, so I'm over the moon. It's longish dress, sort of down to mid-calf, and again I've kind of got my measurements. I know from the waistband down that I need the skirt to be about 32 inches with the hem. I'm going to put this on because it's a bit chilly in here, and because I love it so much. So yeah, what do you think? I'm really happy with it. I'm going to do this up because again it's the buttons as well, isn't it, that kind of brings everything together, the colour. And if I'd just done blue buttons, I think they would have just kind of disappeared, but they fit. It all just fits so lovely. Yeah, I'm really happy with it, and it's nice and warm, nice and soft. So a whole me made outfit, dress and matching cardigan. Really happy. So I was saying as well, I was so pleased with it. It made me want to cast another one on, so I have. I know everyone says this, but I really do want to work through my stash, and I've found some yarn that I've had for years, and now I think I've really put it to good use. I'm just going to get it all out just to show. I've got everything in my handmade project bag, which I really love. Lovely sack, and it's perfect for a jumper or a cardigan. I just want to get the labels out to show you what the yarn is. Okay, so this is where I'm at. I'm 20 rows off finishing the body and then the hem. So this is my new Felix cardigan. I'm really happy with the lace bit there, the yarn overs, that all seem to work lovely. Again, I feel like these colours, it feels like a real classic cardi that would go with jeans and all sorts. So yeah, I'm right up to, I'll just show it from the back actually because you can really see. You can see it's a little bit hairy. So this is completely different yarn to my kind of indie dyed yarn, but it is lovely. It's really squishy. So the beige yarn, it is like beige, is from Jamieson's Ultra, and it's 50% lamb's wool, 50% Shetland wool, spun in the Shetland Isles. And I was talking about my Trescow sweater that I've worn a few times in that brown with stripes of my scraps. That's lamb's wool. And even though when you feel it, it's quite soft and squidgy, but it's definitely woolly, like it should be. These come in 25 gram balls, and again with my Trescow sweater I used JC Rennie yarn, and I held that double to make DK, so that's what I've done in this case as well. Held it double, and again the stitch definition is just lovely, and the more as you're working with it, it just feels soft. Really love it, and it will be lovely I think when it's had a wash. So I had this yarn. I bought this from the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, and it was from Ysolda's stall, and I bought her one of her patterns, which I've never made, and that's why I just thought I've got to turn this into the Felix. So I had 5 balls of this, and again I had to join 2 balls together to make a DK weight, and I also had 2 balls of this blue yarn. So let me just see if I've got the colours right. Yeah, so the blue yarn is called Waterlily, and again it's a real tealy, it looks blue there, it's a bit more greener, but there are flecks of different colours in there. Can you see there's kind of there like a pinky purpley fleck? It's lovely. And that's the cream one is called Eesit. So look, I'm just looking there. This ball was £3.90 for a 25-gram ball. So not a cheap yarn. So say it was £4. Yeah, it's like £8 for 50 grams, £16 for 100 grams. So I suppose an indie dye yarn, you'd pay £16, wouldn't you, for an indie dye yarn? So, like I say, I had 5 of these. So I joined 2 into balls, and then 2 into this ball, and I managed to get quite a lot of the cardigan done with those 2. I've separated for the sleeves, worked my way down, but I also want to keep these for the sleeves because I like to match obviously my sleeves with the stripes here. So I've kept some aside for the top part of the sleeve, and then in my stash I found these, which are just a little bit different, close but a little bit different. This one is more grey and this one is more blue, and these again are from Ysolda. This yarn is 100% wool, which is 70% lamb's wool, 30% Norwegian Pelsol, and it's a sport weight. So I got it in 2 colours like I just showed you. One is Nimbus, which is the grey, and this one is Aegean. So because these are sport weight, I've just left them as they are, and like I said, because this was 4-ply, it does say 4-ply, doesn't it? Well, it felt 4-ply. I joined it together to make a DK. And so far, like I say, there's just a subtle change. Just this one here is where I started, from being a bit more oatmeal-y to a bit more grey. But I think it still goes. And again, the same, this stripe is the new stripe compared to that one. Yeah, I'm pleased. Really, really pleased with it. So I was trying in my head to kind of weigh up, if I made this in 300 grams, I need to make sure I've got 300 grams. Now, the Ysolda yarn, it was a yarn pack. A while ago, again a few years ago, I subscribed to her club for a year, which came with yarn and a pattern. And so these were together to make a hat, I think it was. So I don't know whether I'll even need to add any of this. It depends how I get on. It might just be the ends of a cuff or the end of the hem. But I've kept 1 ball spare, which I'll double up, wind up so it becomes DK, and that is what I want to use for my button band and around the neck. So I feel like I'm doing a bit of yarn management, but I feel all right. I think you know, at the end of the day, I'll have a lovely cardigan that matches. I'm just so pleased with it. I could just keep making Felix cardigans, to be honest. And the other thing I love about this cardigan, this style, is the fact that you can do it up. So then to me, it feels like I'm wearing a jumper. Some of my cardigans haven't got buttons, and then they don't always do up, or I can just only do one of them up. So the fact that I've managed to produce a cardigan that I can do up all the way down to my waist and feel like I'm wearing a jumper is perfect. Yeah, so I think there's going to be more Felix cardigans. It's such a easy pattern. I know some people don't like doing purling, but you know, I've literally got one row that I knit and I purl and I knit and I purl, and I love it. I love that. Now I'm looking at more at this because I do it at night time. I can't always see the yarn, but this new yarn is definitely a bit hairier. I can see lots of kind of black. Don't know if you can see it there. No, you can't really. But it's definitely a bit hairier than this. This is much smoother looking. And that's another thing as well. I kept thinking, I know that I like lamb's wool. I know it's got Shetland in it as well, but if it's anything like that JC Rennie, I know it feels nice on my skin. So again, I wanted to carry on with that on the sleeves. You know, this part of my arm, I wanted to still be this yarn that I know I'm probably going to like. And when I first put my first row in of this, it felt quite sticky, and I mean grippy, you know, so it just felt like it was almost like sticking to stuff, you know. So but the more I've used it, again, the more rounds I'm doing, it's just handling it on here, it's softening up already. So yeah, can you tell I love the Felix? But isn't that lovely? I feel like these colours, I really love these colours. And ultimately, I've gone through nearly 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like about 10 balls of yarn that I've managed to de-stash and turn into something beautiful. Someone mentioned the other day, oh, maybe you should make the jumper. And just seeing it like that, I think, oh yeah, maybe I do need to make the jumper. Lovely. So, that's my Felix. What do you think? That's what I'm going to be doing today. I'm going to be working on that, getting the body, getting the rib done, and then it's just the sleeves, which it's just not been, it's just been a joy to work on. You know, sometimes people talk about sleeve island or being a slog working down the body, but when it's a cardigan, it doesn't feel big. You know, it just feels like one row of, yeah, well, it is just one row. So, yeah, really, really pleased with that. Okay, just tidying up a little bit. So, this, my dress, and my second Felix. Oh, then I cast on a sock. And I've had this yarn in my bag. This is one of my favourite little project bags. And this is by Annie O.B. She does beautiful embroidery. I've had this for a long, long time. And it's just a perfect size for a sock. So, I had this yarn for a long time as well. It was when I subscribed to the Beaches and Birdsong yarn club, and she was, I can't even remember what the yarn club was, but it was, I think it was different places in the UK. I can't really remember, but this yarn was called Tobermory, named after the little place in Scotland, which is Balamory, for those in the UK that watched children's TV years ago. And it's all the colours of, you know, Tobermory, all the buildings are different colours. So it's a sock set, came with the blue and then with this lovely multicoloured bigger yarn. Luckily it's a small set, so it was a 50 and a 20, which is ideal, isn't it, for a sock if you don't need to make really long socks. So I'm making these for my dad. He loves any colour, so I think he'll love this. I'm doing a toe up. I've cast on, well, not cast on, but here, instead of, for me, I make a 64 stitch sock, but for my dad, I make 68. And I'm doing knit 4, purl 2. Because this is the foot, I'm just keeping it plain under the sole. I don't know if you can really tell here, but I'm alternating, a bit like my Felix. I do 2 rows of the main colour, and then 2 rows of the blue, and that means you don't have any ends because you can kind of just hold the yarn up the edge, and that's the area where I'm holding. And again, you can't, there's no kind of ridge, it's all very neat. And inside, yeah, I'll just show you inside, it just looks lovely. It's not, it's just smooth. The yarn is very soft, and funnily enough, after working on DK stuff for a while, this feels so thin. It feels like a long time since I've done anything in fingering weight or 4-ply yarn. But yeah, I'm loving it. I'm at the point now where I'm going to put a Fish Lips Kiss heel in. So yeah, just to say again, I started off with the main colour, and then when I got to the 68 stitches, I then started to do 2 rows of the blue, 2 rows of the main. And it's funny because it kind of looks like it's pooling, because it doesn't really look stripy here. It looks a bit more stripy on the back, but isn't it funny how yarn kind of works? But yeah, I'm pleased with that. So I'm doing it toe up because I just want to get him the biggest sock I can get out of all of the yarn. I'll show you what I've got left in comparison. So this is the yarn I've not, let me just wind that up a little bit. So this will be for my second sock, and that's what I've used so far. So it goes a long way. So yeah, once I've done the heel, I don't know if that really showed, but you can see I've still got quite a lot of yarn left. So yeah, once I've done the Fish Lips Kiss heel, I'll carry on with this pattern, the knit 4, purl 2, all the way round, then probably a 2x2 rib at the top, or a 1x1. Sometimes depending on this stitch pattern, sometimes dictates, doesn't it, what kind of rib, like where does the purl fall. So I'll work that out, but it won't really matter. But isn't that pretty? Again, very feels very spring-like. But my dad, I've only made him a couple of pairs of socks, but he will always mention them. So this year I really feel like I want to make him more socks. Oh, let's put that back. So yeah, Beaches and Birdsong. She does recommend hand washing, although it's superwash merino. Oh well. It's probably because of the colours, isn't it? I think what I do, I always hand wash it when I block them first and just see if the colour comes out. But yeah. So they're my my 4 projects that I've been working on in January. I've still got a couple of blankets. I've got a scrappy blanket and the Dainty Diamond blanket that I've not touched at all, so I'm just going to leave them. I won't talk about them today. So the other thing I wanted to talk about was books. Where are we at? 27 minutes. So in January I've read 4 books. I've got a sweet little book here that I keep a record of the books I'm reading. So I've read 2 books, physical books, and I've listened to 2 audible books. So the first one I read was The Authenticity Project, and I read this for the book club that I'm in at work. It's a lovely, really simple read, very engaging, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I'm currently listening to this author, another book of hers on Audible, and again, it is a very, very simple read, but you really kind of get sucked into the characters, and often she writes about communities. So this is a community that, all around a coffee shop, all very different characters, but it's really, really sweet. So if you want a light read that's quite, uplifting and positive, yeah, I would definitely encourage this. So yeah, the bit on the back just says it's a feel-good story full of hope that we all need to read right now. 6 strangers with one thing in common. Yeah, so it was nice. I don't know if I've really described it. I don't really want to give too much away, because sometimes it's nice just to find out for yourself. But again, if you like finding out about different people in a community, and yeah, a nice, simple, cosy read, that's how I would describe it. And everyone loved it at the book club. So yeah, really, really nice. My next book that I read is this one, Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. Now, I remember seeing a few people that I follow on Instagram just sort of showed, oh, I've got this book at last, I've been desperate to read it, but with no kind of description about what the book is about. So I bought this from Waterstones last year, and didn't really know what it was about. I mean, it describes on the back that it's about Sam and Sadie. It's not a romance, but it is about love. So it's about friendship. So that's all I kind of really knew. But for those that have got an interest or an a history of, or have children that play video games, this will really, I found it really nostalgic. So yeah, I don't know how to really describe it. I'm not really describing it very well today. One of the things I would say is that I've loved it so much. I think I had 10 pages to go, and I was in the living room, we had the telly on, we're all kind of watching a bit of TV, doing our own thing, and I was reading this, and I just burst out crying. It was almost like, I could cry now. I just didn't want it to end, and I was so invested in the characters, and I loved all the characters. Yeah, it was beautiful. I really, really loved it. Don't be put off if you think, I'm not into video games, because it's more just about, it does go into detail about some of that, but it's also about friendship and working together and just life and the things that happen, and some sad things happen. But it's beautiful, beautifully written. I loved it. I would really recommend it. I was speaking to my sister, and when I started to say I've just read this lovely book about video games, she went, "Oh, don't give it to me." So some people might just be really put off and just have no interest in that. But for me, I had a bit of an interest in that. And my husband is a gamer still, and I don't know, and I used to play games also, video game. When I say video games, you know what I mean. It's so different now, isn't it? But it's, just the act of playing a game with someone. I don't know if I've described it well enough, but again, I love stories that are about friends, family, people, life. I loved it. So that's my second book for January. So 2 really lovely books, very different. One easy read, one a little bit more deeper. But both really lovely reads. And then on Audible, I listened to Strong Female Character by Fern Brady. She's a Scottish comedian who has been diagnosed with autism as an adult. And me and my family came across her through the funny programme Taskmaster. We really loved that. And I remember we didn't know of her before then, but she is a stand-up comedian. And on Audible, she reads the book, which is lovely because I really love her voice, and it's a very honest portrayal of her life, warts and all. There's lots of descriptions of how can I say it? Relationships, jobs, sex, all sorts of personal things. That you may need. I don't know, some of it I remember thinking, this is too personal, I don't know if I should be, you should be telling me this. But she says at the beginning, this is my story. So she kind of really links, her behaviours or challenges with her undiagnosed autism, earlier on in her life. So that was really, really interesting. And I did really enjoy it, but there were bits of it I just thought, this is too personal, and some of it was a bit shocking, so be prepared if you want to read that, but I would recommend it. And then the next book I read, or I listened to rather, on Audible was The Great Gatsby. So when I got Audible, I could see that there were some free books on there, and my daughter's doing A-level English, and she will be reading this during her A-levels. So I thought, I'll listen to it. I've never read it before, and I cannot tell you how much I did not enjoy this book. I can't even really give a reason, and to say it was boring just feels a bit immature. I don't really want to say it was boring. It was more, I didn't really like any of the characters, and it kind of made me a bit angry. I was just thinking, this is like a classic. It's taught in A-level English. What are they going to discuss? I don't know. I just tell me what you think. If you've read it and love it, what do you love about it? Or if you've read it and didn't enjoy it. I am tempted to watch the film. I think there's a film with Leonardo DiCaprio, and that might kind of and I can really imagine him in the character of the narrator through the book. But I definitely, I'm almost dreading my daughter reading it, because you think, oh gosh, what's she going to get out of that? Yeah, it just makes you think, doesn't it? Why do they teach children the things they do, and what's the purpose? But tell me what you think, what your thoughts are on that. I do love old books. I mean, it's over 100 years old, and I've read lots of older books than that, But there was something about this book that I just didn't really click with, or didn't click with the characters. Yeah, so they're the 4 books I've read, all the projects I've made. I'm up to 35 minutes. I think I'm probably nearly there. So thank you for watching, and thanks for all your lovely comments as usual. But I'd love some feedback. Tell me what you think about this Felix and my dress, but also books. Tell me especially The Great Gatsby, or if any of you have read Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, because again there has been some what's the word, or I want to say hype, or there's been some comments made about the author. So let me know what you're thinking. But I loved it. Right, I'm off. So I'm back to, it's Friday, so I do a Friday vlog. I've done that all through January, and now we're in February, so I'm really enjoying that. So I'm going to go back to my vlog for the day. But hopefully catch up with you in March. See you soon. Bye.